They say you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. And no, I don't wanna be alone in the world out there. Tried this, tried that, tried everything. Coming right back. Won't you wait for me? I need you to stay right there. I'm coming right away, my dear.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Midgard Golf. And we're back out here today at one of the tougher municipal courses I think I've ever played. Just all kinds of trees and corners and just narrow fairways and shot shaping that you have to make on this crazy course out in the anything but boring Mountain View Golf Course in Boring, Oregon. Had to throw it in there. But anyway, so yeah, super cool Muni here. One of the coolest I've ever played here, like I said before. So yeah, if you're liking this content, we've got a whole lot of really cool content coming up for you this year from my dad and my annual trip this year out to Portola, California, Truckee, California, and a couple of rounds in Reno, Nevada. So, yeah, stay tuned and smash that like and subscribe button. And we're coming up on the next 100 subscribers here as I'm recording this. And when we get there, then I will be giving away another Midgard Golf hat. So every 100 subscribers, I give away a hat. And they are, branded bills, like Pro Elite Series hats, something like that. And I don't sell them. The only way to get one is to either win one of those giveaways or to be featured in a vlog on the channel. So, pretty rare hat indeed. So, this first hole here opens you up pretty easily here with a pretty straightaway par 4 here. And we're playing it from the white tees. That's one up from the tip. So, for us, this hole is 318 yards and it tips out at 350. And it's just a straight down the pipe par 4 here. I mean, no bunkers, no water, no nothing. You can miss left pretty severely there, and you've got adjacent fairway on the second hole. And if you really hook one early, then I guess you might be playing kind of on the 7th. But yeah, hopefully you can hit it a little bit further than that. But off to the right, you've got some seriously heavy trees there. And then if you happen to clear those off to the right, then you've got the road, Southeast Kelso Road there. And then after that, you've got some flavor of farm across the street there. So you really don't want to miss right here. Let's see here. Yeah, trees on both sides. Miss left for the better miss. If you do happen to pound one a pretty good ways down there, though, there is a pretty heavy grouping of trees down there to the left, about, I don't know, 4/5 of the way down the fairway. So watch out for those. All right, so driver in hand, we're just going to try to hit a nice, fairly straight one out there and give ourselves a good shot on this green. Let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the second hole and the first of our par fives for the day, and the only par five on this here front nine. And there's also only one par three on the front nine as well. Everything else is a par four, so still par 36, but yep, you've only got this par five and one par three, and that's it. So, and this one, playing pretty short here, 440 yards for us, 463 from the tips, but where it lacks in distance, it certainly makes up for it in kind of strategy that you have to play this hole in. It's a very hard and early dogleg right there. So unless you can take that corner there off to the right and hit just a really pretty, almost slice off there to take that corner, then it almost takes driver out of your hands for your tee shot here. I mean, you could go over the trees to the right there and then kind of cut that corner that way. But if you do so, and depending on the line that you take over there to cut that corner, and you're going to have to take a pretty aggressive line to the right in order to end up in the fairway a good ways down there. You're going to have to put a really perfect draw on it and get it really high up there in order to make sure that you do indeed clear those trees. And if you do draw it a little too hard, then you might end up in the number 7 fairway, which is a little foreshadowing what you're about to see here right now, because that's what I tried to do. But the play is just to probably hit probably your 200-yard club, maybe 220, and put a little cut on it, and then just iron this hole to death, honestly. I mean, for how short it is, it's really kind of a three-piece hole if you're trying to stay actually on this hole. But you do have adjacent fairway out there, out in the distance, which will be directly in front of you from the tee box. And then if you do happen to overcook one and slice it a little too hard, you've got the third hole there off to the right, but you're going to have some pretty heavy tree trouble if you do that. Although you're going to have pretty heavy tree trouble if you miss to the left, too. So no matter what you do, I mean, yeah, you're going to have tree trouble if you miss this hole, this fairway, or at least the rough off to the side of the fairway there. So anyway, I've got the driver and I'm going for the risky play. So let's see how that works out for me. Let's give it a rip and check it out. Oh, but before we do, no bunkers on the hole until you get to the green. Once you do get to the green, and it's just a general circular shaped green there, actually a pretty small one at that, you've got a bunker front left, front right, and back right. And that's about it. So when you're approaching that green there, just long and left is really the only place you can miss safely if you really hate playing out of that sand. But honestly, none of the bunkers are all that intimidating. So if you're going for it in two and you happen to be in one of those bunkers, no worries. You'll probably be just fine. So let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the third hole. Pretty short par 4 for us here, playing for us at 298 yards and tipping out at 333. So, yeah, definitely drivable, that's for sure. But that said, very, very narrow fairway you're dealing with here. Yeah, indeed. And it's a pretty straight hole, so, I mean, you don't really have to play any kind of shape, and with the trees on either side of you, you really can't play all that heavy of a shape in either direction. You kind of have to pipe one here. And at that, take heed. So you'll see some weeds out there in the fairway off to the right-hand side. Yeah, there's more danger lurking beyond those weeds, and that's kind of a blind lake. Little baby pond, really. But nevertheless, agua to catch your ball there. So definitely keep this one left to stay dry. Or just roast one, straight over everything, and then you'll be good to go. But, yeah, so you've got that option too. Let's see here, trees on both sides. You really can't miss either direction and stay clear of the trees, so that's pretty much a reoccurring theme through most of this course. It's really a, pretty serious target golf sort of course there. Once you make your way up to the green there, again, you've got a bunker front right, front left, and back left, and that's it. So let's give it a rip, driver in hand, and let's see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the fourth hole and the number one handicap on this course. Longer par 4 this time, playing for us at 432 yards and tipping out at 448. So, yeah, I mean, shoot, the tips are longer than the second hole, which was a par 5 for us. So, yeah, considerable hole here. That said, there's absolutely no shape to this hole at all. It's just dead straight. It's just super long and super narrow. You really can't miss in any direction here. You've got heavy trees on both sides, pretty much all the way down. Slips off to the right pretty hard down a kind of rough length grass slope that would carry you down into the tree line off to the right there and give you a nice jail lie if you end up carving one a little too hard out there. But same thing if you hook one a little too hard to the left there. While you don't have the slope to deal with off to the left, it will certainly also put you in the jail. So really demands a fairly straight shot here in order to give yourself a good angle onto this green. Once you get up to the green, you've got no bunkers to deal with either. It's just you, grass, and the green. But if you do happen to end up to the right side, then it's going to be an awkward uphill shot up onto this green. So stay left to kind of stay hole high, if you will. But in order to stay left and kind of make sure, or at least give yourself some flavor of chance to make sure that you stay out of the jail trouble, you're really going to have to smoke one down there a pretty good long way. So there's that. So anyway, yeah, taking driver again. I mean, for the yardage, I kind of have to, in order to give myself a good chance to get on this green in two, because it's a pretty small green indeed. Most of these greens are really small on this entire course. So, yeah, again, target golf engaged. So, let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the fifth hole here. And another par 4 for us here, and kind of a short one here. 326 yards for us, 353 from the tips, so not all that long, but I mean, drivable if you can really crank it, but yeah, kind of, your run-of-the-mill par 4, I would say. So anyway, straightforward hole two, no bunkers, no waters, just straight up grass runway all the way to the hole. However, again, trees. Both sides of the hole, trees again. So yeah, you really don't want to miss hard again in either direction here. And Well, if you do, hopefully the trees are as friendly to you as they're about to be to me. Because this is not about to be a good drive here. But anyway, it is what it is, right? Sometimes you got to get lucky in the game of golf. So, yeah, that said, though, if I had to choose which side I would rather miss to, I would definitely miss to the right. I mean, I would probably take that line that where you can kind of see blue sky there, just to the right of the tallest trees there on the left side of the fairway, and then fade one back from there. And if you overfade it just a little bit, then you should still be okay with a decent angle to get up onto the screen. No bunkers, no water to worry about. So, just yeah, put some accurate shots down there, and you should be a-okay. So, let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the sixth hole in the only par 3 on this front 9 here at Mountain View Golf Course in Boring, Oregon. So, yeah, 173 yards for us, 210 from the tips. So, healthy par 3 indeed. And oh boy, off the tee box, you really got to hit it straight. Again, I mean, no bunkers again, no water, just a whole bunch of trees sitting there getting ready to catch your ball and fling them wherever they may. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? You got to, hit a straight shot there. There is a line to hit a pretty decent draw there. For a fade line, I mean, if you line up way off to the right side of the tee box, you could probably find a fade line just to the right of those trees on the left, but oh boy, it's going to be a slim one. So I'd say if you want to hit a shaped ball, then hopefully you got a draw in there, like I'm starting to find this round somehow. I'm just starting to miss some left again. So yeah, and in the series to follow here, you're going to see a whole lot of that as well. Been playing a fade for like the last year and change, and all of a sudden this round I just kind of found how to miss left again. So it is what it is. So anyway. 8-iron in hand, and I'm just going to try to play a high draw up onto this hole. So let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the seventh hole. Another short par four for us here. 316 yards for us and 344 from the tips. And yeah, a little bit of shape to this hole here. By and large, pretty straight away. But yeah, it does curve to the right just a little bit. That said, though, while you'd be tempted to be like, oh, great, I can hit a little cut out there and, maybe drive this green. Well, take heed. Because if you do go for the cut and you overcut it a bit, you've got a nice big lake there, or big pond, kind of somewhere in between a pond and a lake, I don't know, right there to the right and before the green. So if you overcook that fade and get it all the way down there to the yardage to reach this green, you might find yourself wet instead. So that would be unfortunate. Let's see here. Again, tree lined on both sides. There's no avoiding the jail if you miss either direction here. And that's pretty much all the way down. Although it does thin out once you get down there towards the green, so you've got that kind of reprieve there. And you've got adjacent fairway on both sides. So if you miss hard to the right, then you're going to be over there on the 8th hole. If you miss hard to the left, then you're going to be over there on the 2nd hole. So, yeah. Wouldn't really worry about that, carving one, way too far. However, if you do bust one about that green yardage, or just before the green, rather, maybe 40 or 30 30 yards short of the green there, I'd say, then there's another lake over there on the 8th hole as well that could also catch your ball. So, yeah, to keep your ball dry, you definitely got to miss to the left here. What does that mean? That means that if you do take that safe route to the left there, that you're probably not actually going to drive the ball onto the green. So there's that. Anyway, so driver in hand, and like I said, I found my left miss, so I'm just going to try to keep this ball left, and then give myself some kind of shot to get up on this green in 2. So let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the 8th hole. And the first of 2 kind of twin yardage holes here, playing at 326 yards for us, and number 9 is also going to play at 326. But from the tips for this hole, playing at 337. So, yeah, pretty short par 4 again here. But this one, a pretty fair dogleg left we're dealing with here now. And of course, you've got some seriously tall trees again on both sides. So, yep, you've got that to deal with. But so obviously the shot shape that you want here is one kind of straight out towards the trees right in front of you there, and then to just turn it over to the left. You want probably a good, I don't know, 20 to 30 yard draw depending on your line that you take over there. I mean, if you take the right side of the fairway line, then you're going to want more like a 40 to 50 yard draw. Yeah, to set yourself up nicely into this fairway to have a close one up onto this green. So far as a fade line, yeah, you know what? There really isn't one. Sorry to tell you. But I mean, you could kind of play one just on the right side of that left line of trees and then fade it off of that. But if you do that, then if you're any kind of a, big hitter at all, then that's largely going to take driver out of your hand in order to stay in the fairway, and you're going to have to hit some kind of a long iron in order to get just to the corner there, and then you'll have kind of a mid-iron shot up onto this green. So, yeah, that's what you're working with here. Once you do get up to the green, you've got two bunkers there, one off to the front left and one to the back right, and that's it. So, yeah, what do I got? Driver in hand, and I'm going to try to flip one over and play a little bit of a draw here. Let's see if I can actually pull that off. Let's give it a rip and see what we can do. Oh, and of course, as you can see right off the bat there, you've got some force carry over a little pond. But for most players out there, that should be largely negligible. So, yeah, nothing to worry about. Let's give it a rip and see what we can do. All right, ladies and gents, and here we are heading off to the 9th hole. And of course, the final hole for this first part of this two-part series out here at Mountain View Golf Course in Boring, Oregon. So, before we get into the whole description here, I just want to extend a big old thank you for joining us for another episode of Midgard Golf here. And I certainly hope you join us for the back nine here. I know that most people don't, I tend to get less views on the back nines than I do the front nines, but the back nine here has a whole lot more character than the front nine, that's for sure. To include one of the craziest downhill par threes just ever. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that content. Come back and join us next week for the conclusion to this round. You will definitely not regret it. So this hole here. Oh, and before, yeah, of course, if you're liking this content, then throw us a like and subscribe. All right, so back to this hole. 326 yards for us again, tipping out at 353, and this time a little bit of a dog leg right. But that said, I mean, it's a very late dogleg right at that, and most of the hole plays actually pretty straightforward, so it just kind of curves off gently to the right, right towards the very end there, probably like the last 75 yards or so of the hole. So yeah, you've got a whole long way that you can hit it just dead straight. And you've actually got a fair amount of room that you can miss the fairway to the left. So while you have, pretty heavy lining of trees off to the left there, obviously, as you can see, yeah, you've got more rough length grass than you do on most holes out here to play with before you're actually going to end up in them. While a cut is definitely what you want here for this hole in order to get yourself the closest possible to this green, or maybe even drive it if you happen to just slam one down there and hit a really pretty cut. If you overcook that cut, then you could be in some seriously thick trees down there, and that will certainly turn this into a potentially disastrous hole for you, so take heed of that. Once you find your way to the green there, you've just got one lone bunker there off to the kind of lateral right side of the green, and that's about it. So I've got the driver in hand, and I'm just going to try to pipe one down there with a little bit of cut if I can pull it off here. So let's give it a rip and see what we can do. Oh, and as always, I hope that all of you have an absolutely marvelous day. Thanks again. See you next time.